You are listening to Stribling's New York on WOR 710 AM on your digital dial. We're also available as a podcast on WOR710.com anytime you would like to listen to the show. We are here with our frequent guest and contributor, Melissa Cohn, who knows everything there is to know, not just about mortgages, but the economy. And I think from every conversation I've had, just life in general. Welcome, Melissa. How are you today?
Thanks for having me, Rob. All's well.
Okay, so you and I are going to discuss a lot of things. We're going to talk about ACRIS and we're going to talk about the Fed. Which one would you like to tackle first?
Well, let's talk about ACRIS because that won't take much time, and then we can move on to bigger and better things like the Fed and rates.
Okay, so ACRIS is something I'm aware of, but cannot explain in any kind of articulate, trenchant manner, so I'm going to leave that to you. But what I find fascinating about it, it is an amazing tool that is at our hands, at our computers, and it can conversely be something that can also be dangerous because it can reveal a great deal about our information, personal information. So tell us a little bit about ACRIS and what it is.
Well, ACRIS is a registry where all sales are registered if there's financing that's occurred on the transaction. So when you close on a property and you take a mortgage, that mortgage is recorded, and that the recorded mortgage goes into this registry called ACRIS, where we can look up and we can see what date the property closed, where the property was, how much the mortgage was, and who the lender is. And for me, the most important thing, and for buyers and brokers as well, is knowing that you can get the information on which bank has financed in that building, so that it'll give you an idea about where we can and cannot go to get financing on that property. Buildings and financials and everything expires, but it gives you a really good initial roadmap as to what's been going on in the building. It'll show you can see other records if there are any violations, the violations have been cured, if the building's taking financing, for example, if they buy a supers unit. It gives you a really good sense, and gives you a good sense of the activity pace in that building in terms of financing. Now, when you add that on, I actually go to ACRIS through StreetEasy, because StreetEasy then takes the ACRIS information but also rolls it in with the all-cash sales, so then you can really get a true picture of what's been going on in that building. All-cash sales, how many have sold, has it only been the one-bedrooms, have the big apartments sold. If nothing has sold or nothing has been financed in that building, say for a period of a year or more, then that will make you ask why. Is there something wrong with the building? Is it just that there are no apartments that have come up for sale? But it lets you ask questions, so then you know where to go to get the answers to make you understand, if you're a buyer, do you want to buy in that building? If you're a broker, how to sell that building, and if you're a mortgage banker, how to finance in that building.
Well, let's also explain what StreetEasy is if any listeners don't know. So that's is a website you can go to that's going to give you information about listings in New York City, and also have information about past sales, current sales, and that's a StreetEasy is a private organization. Is ACRIS is actually a government-sponsored website?
ACRIS is a government-sponsored website, but their information is public, so that is why StreetEasy can take that and pull that information from the government website into their own website, so that you get that additional amount of information.
So for me, as a paranoid child of the 60s, what should I be concerned with, though, about ACRIS? How much information is it revealing about me?
Well, it reveals who the buyer is. So if you're purchasing, it'll have your name on it. It'll have the address of where the property is. It'll tell you how much financing you've taken and what bank you've gone to. For people who don't want to have their name put out there, that's why people buy in an LLC or people buy in a trust, so that their name will not be revealed to the general public.
Are you finding that happening more and more with your clients?
To be honest with you, the answer is no.
Okay.
I think that, after Google came around and basically everything we do is public information, that this piece of public information is, people only go to ACRIS for a specific need. People are not going to go on ACRIS and just troll around and, see, who's closed on a property. You have to ask for specific information. So you need to know the address of the property. You need to know the apartment number. It doesn't give you a broad search. It gives you a specific search.
Okay, this is very helpful information because I have heard people complaining, oh, this is revealing too much about our personal lives. And you're right, Google is going to reveal just about anything if you type somebody's name in there anyway.
Right, and I saw it, and I don't remember the name of it. There's another search engine that's supposed to be even more revealing than Google. So, privacy today, is hard to keep. Even when you're online and you type something in and you go to a website, your computer remembers that website and they come back to you as an advertisement.
Yeah, so we have to be clearing our cache more. And speaking
Absolutely.
of
Big Brother's back.
Not speaking of caches, but cash, money. Let's talk about the Fed. What's going on now?
Well, as we know, the Fed did not raise rates in their last meeting, and they were fairly vague about what their future intentions are, basically stating that they felt that the economy was strong enough to withhold their desired path of 4 rate hikes in 2016. And a couple of the very hawkish Fed members have come out even this week and reiterated the fact that they think that we can have these Fed hikes and it will not harm us. Kansas City Fed Esther George basically came out yesterday and says that, what's going on in the markets is not related to the fundamentals of our economy, and that what's going on in the markets is really investors readjusting to a higher rate environment. Now, after she said that, we've received the ISM non-manufacturing report, which is the report that talks about activity in our economy that is not manufacturing. And remember, our economy is 2/3 consumer-driven. So this is a very important report, and it came in much lower than the market expected. And it's really rattled people because it's showing that there's been weakness in the business activity, that there's weakness in the employment sector, there's weakness in new orders, and that speaks of a cooling down of our economy, and this is the 3rd straight month that this has happened. And I think that the stock markets are hating it, the bond markets are loving it, so mortgage rates will go down. But the stocks are concerned about what the Fed has done and saying, was that rate hike in December a mistake? We saw that recently the Bank of Japan has gone to negative interest rates, hoping that banks don't want to park their money and said that they will use their money to lend it out and help, revive the economy. And I've seen people come out and say that negative interest rates here are a possibility and that the rate hike was possibly a mistake, as we're watching China and Japan and Europe all with easing instead of tightening of monetary policy.
So can this be adjusted positively for us then?
Yeah, the Fed can come back and say, "Oops, we made a mistake, and we're gonna lower interest rates in order to help stimulate the economy."
So then and is that what you think is going to happen?
I mean, my bet is at some point this year that they will be forced to do so. I know that from what you listen to, especially the hawkish Fed members, is they don't want to admit that they made a mistake. But if economic data continues to come out showing that business activity, both non-manufacturing, meaning retail and restaurants, and manufacturing, then obviously we have to do something to turn the tide.
Well, what are you going to tell your clients right now if somebody's walking in and they want to get a mortgage?
I tell them it's a great time to apply. It's a great time to buy because interest rates are coming back down to record lows, although they've never really gone below extremely low rates, or gone higher than extremely low rates, and that we need to just keep an eye out. And, low oil prices are hurting the economy, and Oil keeps trying to bounce back. Russia desperately trying to get OPEC members to curb production in order to prop up oil prices, in order to rescue their own economies. And cheap oil and a strong dollar are negative to our economy. So we need to turn those two things around, and by raising interest rates, that'll keep our dollar much higher and stronger, and we need that not to happen. So I think the Fed at some point this year, unless things turn around, and of course in our economy things can turn on a dime, we're going to have to look to being more accommodating as opposed to being tightening of policy.
All right. Well, that was very helpful, and I hope that the Fed listens to you. I certainly will, as will all our listeners. Again, thank you for joining us this week again, Melissa, and we'll see you again soon, or hear you again soon as well.
Thanks so much, Rob.
Bye.